Hello everyone. In this short video, I'm going to talk about when we use the passive. Why do we have the passive voice? How is it a little different from the active voice? So let's take a look at understanding the purpose of the passive voice. So basically we have active and we have passive. The active voice puts the focus on who or what does the action. So if we look at these two examples, Colorado legalized cannabis in 2014. So we see that the main doer of the action is the state of Colorado. And we have the verb in what we call the active form. It can be in the past, it can be in the present, it can be present perfect, or whatever we want, the regular form. Another example is the researchers examined the effects of DUIC. So again here, our focus is that the researchers did the action. So basically we have the subject of the sentence, the doer, the verb, and the object, who gets the action. So who got the action in the first sentence? The cannabis. What's the recipient of the action? The effects of DUIC. Now, what happens in the passive? We almost turn it upside down. So instead of the focus in passive, the focus being on the doer, in the passive, the focus is on who gets the action. So Colorado legalized cannabis in 2014. Cannabis was legalized in Colorado in 2014. Many times when we speak and we're using the passive voice, we even emphasize that first word. Cannabis was legalized in Colorado. The effects of DUIC was examined by the research. What becomes important, where the spotlight is here, cannabis and the effects. So we have the subject, which is the recipient of the action, the verb, which is or was, plus the third form of the verb, and the object, the doer. And it's not always clear. Here we see the researchers examined. Here we have to make an assumption. Who legalized it? Well, the government legalized it. Let's take a look at a few more examples. And what we want to know and what we want to pay attention to is where's the focus regarding the action. So if we look at the sentence, Monash University research examined, the effect of recreational cannabis sales. And we see the important point here is that Monash University did the action. They examined. On the traffic fatalities in 3 U.S. states where cannabis, was legalized. So who gets the action here? The cannabis was legalized. Sometimes, and we can see this very clearly, the writer wants to emphasize who does the action. So here we have medicinal users tend to substitute compared to recreational users. So here we're emphasizing and showing that the doer is the focus of the sentence. Here we continue. They found that significant driving impairment was detected. What was detected? Well, driving impairment can't do anything. It's the recipient. It was detected. The researchers detected driving impairment and was completely localized. In other words, driving impairment was detected and it was localized to those who, obviously the drivers, the subjects, began using marijuana. So again, here, it changes from placing the focus on what happened to who did the action. Research has consistently shown that early substance use, including the use of cannabis, is associated. What's associated? Early substance use. By whom? It doesn't say, obviously, people. So here again, the focus is that early substance use. That's what the writers want us to focus on, that it's associated, that it's connected with this. So when do we use the passive voice? We use it when we want to emphasize the recipient of the action. David was given the prize for excellence in his study. When you want to emphasize the action itself, the dog was killed. It didn't just die. When you don't know who or what is performing the action, you go in the kitchen and you were really waiting for a cookie and you look in the jar and you say, oh, all the cookies were eaten. You don't know who did the action. And sometimes the doer of the action is irrelevant or unimportant. The house was built in 2015 by the builders, by the construction people, by a company. So again, to sum up, we look and we say, what's the purpose? David was given, so we understand it's in order to emphasize the recipient of the action. We see the dog was killed to emphasize the action. We don't know who is performing the action, or the action is irrelevant, and we're placing the focus on what happened and not who did the action.